everybody, and welcome to In the Chair with Imogene Nix. Today I'm joined by my good friends Suzi Love. Suzi.
Hello.
And Sassie Lewis.
Hi. Susie's having problems hearing us, apparently. Sorry.
I'm being really good. I'm trying to make sure I'm sitting forward, but apparently. Now, our good friend Keri Arthur will be joining us, if not in this video, in the next. She's actually running a little bit late today. But as today is the very first of the pandemic specials, hang on.
Oh, I love it. So nice. Very good.
I'm very good. I'm very organised. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the process of writing. So talking about when we first start a new book, what we know, what we don't, how we actually enter it. So if we were to look inside Suzi Love's window and we were to see you cracking your figurative book open for the first time, what do we know about your story when you begin?
I have to be very reasonably organised to begin with. So I always know, one, if it's going to be the start of a series, two, or if it's going to be a standalone book, three, I basically always know whether it's going to be a long book or a short book, because that makes a big difference to how you plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I basically have in my head or on paper a basic plot of where it's going to start, who the characters are going to be, and where it's going to end up. So unless I have all those sort of basics organised either on the computer or a piece of paper in front of me or in my head, I usually waffle on and I get lost. So that's my basics. So when I sit down to start, I think, right, so this book is first in a series. It's going to be a $75,000 word book, and I sort of basically know who the characters are going to be, and I go from there.
Okay, so would you classify yourself then as a plotter?
I'm definitely a half and half.
Okay.
Yes, sorry?
I said, you're the same as me.
Yeah, I have to be half and half, otherwise I just get lost, because especially writing historical, you really need to remember who's who and who lives where, and you know what the titles are and blah blah blah. Otherwise you stuff it up and have to go back and redo. So I'm a definite half and half. I have all the basics all worked out and in front of me, and then I just go chapter from chapter. I'm just a pantser.
Okay, so Sassie, when you start your book for the first time, what do you know? What's your process? And I guess the other question is, do you hide yourself away from the world?
Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat today. Do I hide myself away from the world? Yes. I can do it in a public place as long as people don't speak to me. I'm good to go. I need to get, as when you're reading a book, you want to get lost in it. When I'm writing it, I'm the same. I want to get lost in the story. When I initially start, I actually have nothing. I will generally write a few thousand words on a book with no information. It's just the idea that's formed into my head. That few thousand words might not even end up in the actual book, but it is my starting point of where and what I want to write. And from there, I do the same as Suzi. I will plot a small outline. It is not a concrete one. I use Scrivener. So if anyone's used Scrivener, hey, we have Keri.
Hey, Keri.
Keri's just joined us. I use Scrivener, and Scrivener has great pages for doing some outlining in and plotting in. So I'll know things about the general location, the characters, what they look like, stuff like that. I always have in my head, I'll have the beginning, the middle and the end of the book already in my head before I start writing it. It's what happens to get to those points that I just pants.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like Suzi, I don't mind rewriting stuff. It is a bit of a waste, but in the same token, I've found that I have hundreds and hundreds of documents on my computer, and I might write a scene for one book, and I will just switch it for another book, and it works with other characters.
Yep.
That whole entire scene will work for other characters. So never delete, people. Never delete. Put it in a new document, save it, and file it. It will come in handy at some point. It really will.
Hey, Keri, glad you could join us.
Sorry, I forgot about it. I was walking the dog.
Oh, no. No, that's all good. All right, so what we're doing, we're talking about writing. So we're talking about when you very first sentence even in a new book. What's your process? What do you actually know going into that book? And also, do you hide yourself away from the world?
I
And
know
we're not allowed to
absolutely
talk
nothing.
about Victoria.
I don't care. Although I'm a bit mad at the moment because we've got new infections up here thanks to a Melbourne Pete coming up here to eat at one of our restaurants. So
Oh.
Yes, I heard.
anyway, back to the writing.
That's great.
I know nothing going into a story. I'm a complete and utter pantser. Because I write series, I generally know how the series is going to end, but I know nothing else. I don't know what's going to happen. I quite often don't know who the characters are. I don't know the plot of the story. I know nothing. I just get in there and write and enjoy the journey. And I think for me, that's the whole part of writing. I love exploring the world and what the characters are going to do and stuff like that. So it's complete pantsing.
Yeah, so that I'm a pantser. So I usually know him, her, roughly where it takes place. And that's literally all I know. And I just let it evolve as it goes. And I mean, I can't tell you if it's going to be a series because I haven't got a clue. I honestly don't know until probably about halfway through the first book or towards the end. And then I'll see, oh yeah, you know, like there's another story in this world. But apart from that, I really don't know very much going on. I am a true pantser in as much as I know they're going to end up together. Don't ask me anything else.
Exactly.
I really don't have a clue. I've written books where I've been sort of going, what the hell is this character's motivation? And it's only occurred to me, you know, half to 3/4 of the way through the story, what the actual motivation is, because that's just how they show themselves to me.
Yep.
When I say I hide myself away, because I've got my office, I can shut my door, and I prefer not to be interrupted when I start. And you can always tell when I've been interrupted because it's a bit. And that is one thing that I find really, really difficult is when there's lots of interruptions. Who here does not write sequentially? So you write one chapter and then you might write an end chapter and then come back. Does anybody here write non-sequentially?
Oh, yes.
Sorry?
Absolutely.
No.
I
doesn't work like that.
Yeah. I used to be very, very sequential. Everything had to go I couldn't write the next sentence until the last sentence was finished. But I've found by using Scrivener for me, I open up the notes section and I'll put a note for that chapter in there because I'll go, I know something else needs to go in here, but in my brain, to make the story whole, I know something needs to go in there. But while I'm telling the story, I can miss that whole chunk and go to the next part. So using Scrivener, I can do that. I find that I can just put a note in that section going, I know something really needs to go in here to beef up the story, but my brain's telling me that I need to skip that and just go to this part. Mm-hmm. So where I used to not be able to write unless I wrote that, by using Scrivener, I found that I can go unsequential. I can just skip a paragraph and go to the next logical paragraph. I generally can't skip a whole entire chunk of book and go next. Here's the end of the book, and that. So.
Yeah, no.
I've met people who can write, and they'll go, "Oh, I'll write a bit at the beginning, and then I'll write a bit at the end, and then I'll write a bit in the middle, and then I'll sort of." But I can't work like that. I don't see the story evolving, and so for me, that it doesn't work. I have to be sequential, but it's like anything with writing.
If you wrote a real outline where you outlined your whole entire book and you outlined each character, each scene, each chapter, you would be able to write in any order because you know what's going to happen in that thing. But for me, that's too much. I'm not learning anything. I'm not enjoying the adventure when I've plotted that hard, so I can't do that.
Yes,
I plot like that.
Pardon?
My muse considers the story over.
Yes.
And won't go there. So
no, that's it. So I won't fill in the dialogue or anything like that because, like, you've told the story.
Yeah,
I already know the story, so I'm not going to write it.
Yeah.
See, but I'm like Keri. For me, there's just, I can't think of anything. Like, I don't necessarily believe in writer's block per se, but if anything is going to stop me from writing, it's that, because I look at those notes and I go, oh man, I have no idea how I'm going to make that work. So, okay, quick questions. Go.
Go.
I often swap my chapters around completely, and people always think that's really weird, but I can actually write most of a book and go through and I think, oh no, they should have been doing that earlier, or that person should have been doing that earlier, and I'll just swap a whole chapter, move it up. And a lot of people say to me, weird.
I do the same thing, especially with scenes. I'll go, no, that scene needs to actually come between, because I write a scene as a full completed scene, so it has its beginning, its middle, end, and I can move it and go, no, that scene needs to come before that one.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I do.
As a content editor, I'll do that in other people's writing as well. I'll go, the scene here, and that doesn't go there. The scene needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll suddenly think, oh, they needed to know that earlier, or they should find that out later and keep the mystery, and so you just swap them around.
Yep.
Okay, so a couple of very, very quick questions. Is there any one way to write a book?
No.
Is your process better than anyone else's?
No.
No.
In one sentence, what is the most important piece of information for a person writing their very first book, and particularly if they're participating in Nano?
Just write it.
Yes.
Just write it. Just write it, and then if you know nothing about writing, that's what editing's for.
Keri?
Yeah, just write it exactly the same. Don't worry about editing. Don't worry how good or bad it is. Just write the thing. You can fix everything up once you finish the book, but you've got to have a book to work on.
That's it.
Suzi?
I've always gone by Nora Roberts' words that I learned way back when I started. You can fix any page except a blank page.
Yeah, see, and my line was, if you only have a blank page, you've got nothing to edit.
Yep.
So,
same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, ladies, we'll call it quits at that for this session of In the Chair. Thank you very much for joining me. We will be back next week where we're going to be talking about the process of world building. So from me, that's goodbye. And from my good friends, the ladies.
Bye.
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 Sorry, I was late.